Morning all. We're just going to look at a stats question here today. Mr. O'Hara with you here again. Okay, so the stats question that we're looking at, we have a table here and the height of girls and the number of girls at each height. So our heights 145 to 150 centimeters. There's 72 girls there in this height. 150 to 155 centimeters. There's 120 girls at that height, and so on. So that's given to us in this question. And the question asks us, use mid-interval values in the table to estimate the mean height of the girls in this sample. Okay, so the keywords probably is the mid-interval values, and we have to calculate the mean. All right, so to get the mid-interval values, what that means is I have to get the middle value between these two values. So 145 to 150, the mid-interval value there is 147.5. Halfway between 145 and 150. Likewise, the next one, it would be 152.5. Again, halfway between 150 and 155. So these are the values that we're going to use all along. So just to recap just on the mid-interval values, why are we using these figures? What we're saying here is there's 72 students between this height. Okay, we don't know their exact height. Some of them will be 146 centimeters, some will be 147 centimeters, and so on. But we don't know the exact height of any of these 72 students. So we need to find the mean, we need an exact height. So we're saying the halfway point. That's why we're saying the mid-interval values. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the calculations that you would actually be doing in your exam for this question. And I'm going to work out the values of each first of all. So basically, as I've just discussed, 147.5 going to be multiplied by 72 because we're saying there's 72 students at that height. I'll get my calculator and do these calculations and get a value of 10,620. The next calculation, 152.5 multiplied by 120. Again, calculator work, and I'll get my value. Next one, so 157.5. So that's the mid-interval value here, multiplied by 178, because there's 178 students at that height, so 178 girls. And again, calculator work, and so on. So I have to do all these calculations, and I show all these calculations in my exam to ensure I'm getting marks for them all. So the examiner knows exactly where all these calculations are coming from. Right, so the next one, 167.5, and there's 167 students at that height, and that will give me a value of 27972.5. Next one, we're nearly there with these now, 172.5 multiplied by 90, and that will give me 15,525. Next value, 177.5 multiplied by 82. And the final calculation is 182.5 multiplied by 51, which gives us a value of that. Okay, so obviously enough. That will take a bit of time in the exam doing all these calculations. Be very careful, don't put any pressure on yourself, take your time, make sure you're putting in the correct figures, otherwise it'll give your answer obviously a little bit different. Right, our next step then is once we have all these figures, normally to get the mean we add up all the values and we divide by the amount. So I need to add up all these values, and when I add up all these values I'm going to get an answer of 163,315. Okay, I'll just put a box around that. So 163,315. Okay, so I've added up all my values, got that, and I divide by the amount. All right, so the amount is when we add up all those girls. All right, and when we add up all those, we're going to get 1,000. So it's over 1,000, and when I do that I get 163.315 centimeters. Okay, so the average height of these girls is 163.315. Okay, so we're saying it would be in this category here. Okay, so that's where we're saying our mean value would be in there. If we also look, that would also be our mode. Okay, we will talk about mode in another question shortly, but the mode is the most common value. Okay, there's 240 girls in this region between 160 and 165, so that would be the mode, most common as well. Okay, so the next part of this question I didn't say already, was asked in a mock paper in 2017. So the next part is find the margin of error at 95% confidence for this sample. Write your answer as a percentage correct to 1 decimal place. Okay, so the margin of error, right? So basically, they've asked a sample of girls. They haven't asked every single girl. They've asked 1,000 girls, right? If they were to ask more girls, their margin of error would be smaller. If they were to ask less girls, so they asked 1,000 or they measured 1,000 girls. If they only measured 500, then obviously our margin of error would be a bigger error. Okay, so the more we ask in terms of a sample, or in this case, the more we measure, the smaller our margin of error would be. All right, so we have a little formula that we need to know for this. It's 1 over the square root of n. N being the number, n being the amount. As we've already discussed, n in this case is 1,000. So the only calculation I have to do is 1 over the square root of 1,000. Calculator work again, and that's going to give me 0.031622. Right, now just back to the question. Write your answer as a percentage. Well, at the moment this is just as a decimal, it's not a percentage, and it says correct to 1 decimal place. To go from a decimal to a percentage, we must multiply by 100. Okay, when I multiply that by 100, I'm going to get an answer of 3.1622%. And to get my final mark in this part, correct to 1 decimal place, well, that's 6, it's 5 or more, yes it is, so we round the 1 up to a 2, so 3.2%. So my margin of error is 3.2%. So I could be 3.2% out in terms of these calculations. Okay, that's where the 95% confidence interval for the sample means. Okay, so ultimately these measurements could be 3.2% higher, or these measurements, the average of these could be 3.2% lower. That's my margin of error. We're going to see more of this when we come into the next part of our question. And the next part of our question is create a 95% confidence interval for the percentage of girls in the sample who are less than 176 centimeters in height. Okay, so right, just to recap, I have my 3.2%, and I know that there was 1,000 girls asked. Okay, so how many girls are less than 176 centimeters in height? Well, if I go back to my table, these 72 girls are, these 120 girls are, these 178 girls are, these girls are, these girls are, and these girls are. So all these are. So I'm going to add up all these. Now, however, here's the calculation, the work I'm going to have to do. There's 82 girls between 175 and 180. Okay. Now, it says less than 176. So some of these girls could be less than 176 centimeters. All right? And still fall into this category. They could be 175.5, 175.6, and so on. But not all these girls are. So how am I going to figure this out? Well, I'm just going to estimate this, right? There's 5 centimeters here, all right? 176 centimeters is 1 bigger than 175. So I'm going to look at 1/5. So I'm going to get 1/5 of 82. Okay, so I'm going to estimate that 1/5 is in each category here. So the calculation I'm going to do is 1/5 multiplied by or of 82 centimeters, and that's going to give me an answer of 16.4. So obviously we can't have 16.4 girls, so I'm going to say we have 16 girls out of this 82 girls that are 176 centimeters, less than 176 centimeters. Okay, right, now, so the overall number of girls. Right, so remember my table that I've just discussed. Right, 72 plus 120 plus 178. Remember, these are all coming from my table. Plus 240 plus 167 plus 90. So they're all the girls, definitely less than 176. They're all less than 175, plus these extra 16 girls that I've just calculated up here. When I add that up, I'm going to get 883 girls. So what I'm saying is 883 girls are less than 176 centimeters in height. Right, now the next step is to get that as a percentage, because remember my margin of error is also a percentage. Right, so 883 girls out of 1,000 girls. Okay, so 883 over 1,000. To get that as a percentage, we've done this already, we'll always multiply by 100. Okay, and when I multiply that out by 100, I'm going to get 88.3%. Okay, so we are 95% sure that 88.3% of the girls are less than 176 centimeters. However, we said in the last part that we could be wrong. How much wrong could we be? We could be margin of error of 3.2%. So I've two calculations to create my interval. My two calculations is the 88.3%, and I'm going to add 3.2% because it could in fact be 3.2% higher. I'm also going to do 88.3% minus 3.2% because I could be 3% lower, okay, based on the sample, based on those 1,000 girls that I have measured the height of. When we do these calculations, we're going to get 91.5% and we're going to get 85.1%, right? So now we've created our margin, our confidence interval, right? We're saying that between 85.1% and 91.5% are the girls that are less than 176 centimeters in height. Okay, so just to recap what we've done there. Basically what we've done is in the last part we found our margin of error. Here then we worked out the percentage of girls that are less than 176 centimeters. And finally then we added and subtracted our margin of error. So what we're saying is between 85.1% and 91.5% is our interval. Okay, that we can write that as in maths terms as 85.1%, 91.5%. Okay, and the P is our proportion. Okay, so basically that's that question done. All right, so it's regularly asked, so it's probably important if we just go back and I'll just highlight that we know this formula. And this formula is for the margin of error. So 1 over the square root of n. And then when we go back here just to our confidence interval, we get our percentage and we add and subtract the margin of error. So that's always going to be the case in that then as well. Okay, hopefully you've got something from that. So that's a stats question. Like I said, it was 2017 mock paper that was asked. All right, where they looked for the mid-interval values, margin of error, and the confidence interval. I'd be saying that both the margin of error and the confidence interval is very important. If you look back over the last few exam papers, that has regularly come up on paper 2, 2019, 18 and 17. There's always been something on that. So maybe once you've read through this, maybe give those questions a go. Before I finish up, I'm just going to look at one further bit. This question was actually asked in 2018 in mock paper again. So we've already looked at the mean. I mentioned the mode, and we're now going to look in the medium as well. So just to read the question first of all, there would have been a little bit more detail given in the mock paper in terms of the question. The data below shows the number of hours 20 students spent studying per week. Okay, so we have the 20 students. One student studied 4 hours, next student 5, 8, 10, 7, and so on. All 20 students. Now, what they've asked for here is find the mean, the mode, and the medium. Okay, so it's important that we know what all these three words mean. So firstly, they all mean an average. But the mean, what do? Add up all values and divide by the amount. In this case, the amount would be 20. So I'm adding up all these numbers and dividing by the amount. I'll do that in a minute. The mode. Most common value. Okay. Again, look up there what number is most common. And then finally, the mean would be, we've done the mean. The medium is the middle value. Okay, now the key with this, the middle value, look at these numbers. We've starting with 4, the last number is 9, however there's a 14, 15. These numbers need to be in order for us to get the middle value first of all. Okay, so what I might do is just let you look at that again for a second and just read over the three of those, and then we will answer those questions on it. Okay, so let's look at the easiest one first of all. Or what we'll do first of all is we'll put them in order, and then we'll look at the easier two, and then we'll leave the mean till last. So putting them in order is probably the best thing to do, no matter what they're asking us first of all. Okay, so just to go through it, 4 is my smallest number, and maybe just put a line under it there so we have it. 5, 5, I have 2 5s. Okay, then I have a 6. 6 again. 7. Okay, and another 7, so 2 7s again. 8 then. I've just one 8. I have 2 9s. Again, take your time during doing this during the exam. 10 10. I have an 11. 12 12 12. So 3 12s, 1 2 3. And I'm going to go on to the next line then. 13, 14, and 2 15s. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So all 20 numbers are there. I do that just to double check that I have not missed out on any values. Okay, so if I got 19 or got 21, I've obviously not done it correctly, and I can go back and check. Okay, so let's look at these two first of all, the mode and the medium. Mode is the most common value, and it should be kind of fairly clear once we've looked at all those. that there is 1, 2, 3 12s. There's no other number that occurs 3 times. Obviously, there's a few numbers that comes twice. So 12 is my mode. My medium then is my middle value. Okay, so there's various ways of doing it. I'm sure your teacher would have taught you different ways. You can cross off highest and lowest like that until you get to your middle values. What you could do is there are 20 numbers. So you divide by 2. So we're looking at the 10th number and the 11th number. Okay, so there, because it's an even amount, we'll be looking at that. So what we might do is we'll look here across them off. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9. Okay, and like we've said, our 10th values there. Okay, so our 10th and 11th. So we've 9 numbers this side and we've 9 numbers that side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, so our median value is 9 and 10. What's halfway between 9 and 10? It's 9.5. So our answer for our medium is 9.5 hours. Okay, what we could have done either, I'll just do it in a different color pen if we were unsure of what is the middle value. Well, 9 plus 10 is 19, and we divide 19 by 2, which will give us 9.5 hours. All right, so that's another way of doing it. Okay, and finally then the last part. The reason I left this to last is probably it's the most amount of work we have to do when we're doing this. Okay, we have to add up all these numbers. So 4 plus 5 plus 5 and so on. I'm not going to write them all out. I'd encourage you in an exam to write them all out. So again, the examiner can see you know exactly what you're on about. We add up all those numbers. So when we add up all those numbers, we're going to get an answer of 190. Okay, so add up all the numbers and then we divide by the amount of numbers there. We've said already there's 20 students. So the final bit to get the mean, 190 divided by 20. Again, use your calculator. 190 divided by 20 is equal to 9.5 hours. Okay, so what we've noticed is the mean and the medium are the same in this case. The mode is slightly higher, as in there's a few students, 3 students that have done 12 hours. Okay, so again, I'd feel that this is important. A lot of students mix up what one of them means. So I'd go back up and like I said, I asked you to read earlier, I'd be saying this is important to maybe read back over and to remember all these. That we know that the mean is add up all the values and divide by the amount. Mode is the most common value, the number that occurs the most. And the medium is the middle value. Again, remember, numbers must be in order to get the medium. Okay, so that's a little kind of brief synopsis on stats. And I feel that if you understand what we've just discussed there and have a good, you should get on with a lot of what can be asked in the stats topic in your Leaving Cert. Okay, hope you got something from that. Best luck and take care with everything you're doing.